我们现在开始上课啊。上一次提到的就是所谓的《西游记》，作为一个领导者，他的成员啊，最好是有像《西游记》这样啊，马云说的故事。好，讲到《西游记》这一块，如果大家还印象不是很清楚的话，那么我们把马云说的话啊再来回味一下，让大家能够更清楚的理解到，马云他在讲所谓的《西游记》的团队的意思是什么。
我们的公司就像个动物园一样，各种各样的人都有，各种各样的动物啊。有的人是1分钟可以讲好多话，有的人是5天不讲一句话。我们有个技术人员，这个你问他个问题，他不理你的。那时候我们创一个房间，总共一个房间，你问了个问题，他理也不理，管自己在弄。然后5个小时你要忘掉，他突然说你刚才是这个意思，你要忘了刚才问了他什么问题，对吧？所以各种各样动物都有，但是我觉得，如果你的公司是个动物园，是个 zoo，is much better than a farm， 对不对？如果你的人都是一样的，那就麻烦大了。所有的人都是一样，那是养殖场，对不对？那你不需要这样。那另外一个呢？我觉得团队，什么叫做团队的合作？我觉得中国历来以来希望的团队是刘关张的团队，刘备、关公、张飞。哎呀，这团队太好了。我呢，没有这个希望。1000年等一回的团队那是，对吧？1000年才会出这么一个团队，这个又要忠诚，又要武功高，而上知天下的，下知地天上知道一半，地下全知道这个诸葛亮，哪去找这样的人，对吧？我觉得这天下中国有一个最好的团队，我是最欣赏，就是唐僧团队，啊，因为你去想想看，唐僧这样的领导。你说没有魅力，还真没有魅力。他反正就知道，但是他使命感很强，我就取经，你别给我瞎扯，对不对？取经，他的毅力就是使命感非常之强，价值观佛家也非常之强。反正我觉得这样的领导，你们很多单位里面每个人边上看看，一定有这样的领导。领导不一定要像我们这样慷慨激昂、煽动性很强，反正我就去那儿，对吧？这个领导。第二个，孙悟空这样的人，优点很明显，缺点也非常明显，对不对？都是孙悟空，这个经验没法取了。但是呢，这样的人你们看看边上都有孙悟空，领导有的时候喜欢也这些人，讨厌也是这样的人，但这样的人刚好是也很有作用。还有一个是猪八戒，对吧？猪八戒其实很幽默，他价值观其实不错，对不对？团队里面分好吃懒做，你去看看边上一定有这样的一些人的。你仔细看看，对吧？还有一种是沙和尚是最多的。反正你也别跟我讲伟大理想，我8小时上班，早上到晚上走，对不对？我牵马，我挑担，说你其他别跟我瞎扯，对吧？我就干这个活。沙和尚。但是正因为这4个人合在一起，9981个磨难，取得真经。所以一个公司任何事，你不要寄希望于哎呀人都很厉害，每个人都有缺点，不管他是谁。我感谢我的团队是。我坚信一点，作为领导，我的员工容纳我远远超过我容纳他们，因为我毕竟是老板，我老大，我说这样就这样，最后他还得听我这样，不管他同意不同意，对不对？所以他的胸怀要比我更大，所以说我是感谢这一批人。
好，由他来解释说
It's over. Barbecue.Have you often heard this buzzword recently? Barbecue can be heard here and there on the internet in recent years.
来说明有关的这个所谓的团队里面需要像孙悟空这样像《西游记》里面的有这个使命感、使命必达的这个唐僧正还有懒惰，但是呢可以。在组织里头啦，找出毛病的诸葛亮这个猪八戒，然后呢还有一个 朝九晚五，按时上下班，分内工作做好，不争不求的杀无尽啊。那我们要讲到的是，领导与管理啊，一个领导者，他第一个要受人尊敬的品德与学识。那台湾首富郭台铭曾经公开表示，接班人的3个要件，品德最重要，其次要有责任心，以及呢要有工作意愿。品德就是言行一致、明确和诚实，也是建立榜样的重视价值。学识呢是领导决策的基础啊。那第二个的话，领导者的权力基础必须是有合法的地位。领导者与被领导者的关系呢，并不是无条件的。领导者必须掌握某些能够满足被领导的资源，方能影响被领导者。那么我们来看一下这个Saban 啊，他是美国的组织管理大师。他说呢，合法的地位啊，领导者的权力基础啊，最重要的是呢，他能够提供一个安全感啊。我们来看看他怎么说明啊。
There's a man by the name of Captain William Swenson, who recently was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his actions on September 8th, 2009. On that day, a column of American and Afghan troops were making their way through a part of Afghanistan to help protect a group of government officials, a group of Afghan government officials who'd be meeting with some local village elders. The column came under ambush and was surrounded on 3 sides. And amongst many other things, Captain Swenson was recognized for running into live fire to rescue the wounded and pull out the dead. One of the people he rescued was a sergeant, and he and a comrade were making their way to a medevac helicopter. And what was remarkable about this day is, by sheer coincidence, one of the medevac medics happened to have a GoPro camera on his helmet and captured the whole scene on camera. It shows Captain Swenson and his comrade bringing this wounded soldier who'd received a gunshot to the neck. They put him in the helicopter, and then you see Captain Swenson bend over and give him a kiss before he turns around to rescue more. I saw this, and I thought to myself, where do people like that come from? What is that? That is some deep, deep emotion when you would want to do that. There's a love there. And I want to know, why is it that I don't have people that I work with like that? You know, in the military, they give medals to people who are willing to sacrifice themselves so that others may gain. In business, we give bonuses to people who are willing to sacrifice others so that we may gain. Yeah, right? So I asked myself, where do people like this come from? And my initial conclusion was that they're just better people. That's why they're attracted to the military. These better people are attracted to this concept of service. But that's completely wrong. What I learned is that it's the environment. And if you get the environment right, every single one of us has the capacity to do these remarkable things, and more importantly, others have that capacity too. I've had the great honor of getting to meet some of these who we would call heroes, who've put themselves and put their lives at risk to save others. And I asked them, why would you do it? Why did you do it? And they all say the same thing, because they would have done it for me. It's this deep sense of trust and cooperation. So trust and cooperation are really important here. The problem with concepts of trust and cooperation is that they are feelings, they're not instructions. I can't simply say to you, trust me, and you will. I can't simply instruct 2 people to cooperate, and they will. It's not how it works. It's a feeling. So where does that feeling come from? If you go back 50,000 years to the Paleolithic era, to the early days of Homo sapien, what we find is that the world was filled with danger. All of these forces working very, very hard to kill us. Nothing personal. Whether it was the weather, lack of resources, maybe a saber-toothed tiger, all of these things working to reduce our lifespan. And so we evolved into social animals, where we live together and work together in what I call a circle of safety, inside the tribe, where we felt like we belong. And when we felt safe amongst our own, the natural reaction was trust and cooperation. There are inherent benefits to this. It means I can fall asleep at night and trust that someone from within my tribe will watch for danger. If we don't trust each other, if I don't trust you, that means you won't watch for danger. Bad system of survival. The modern day is exactly the same thing. The world is filled with danger, things that are trying to frustrate our lives or reduce our success, reduce our opportunity for success. It could be the ups and downs of an economy, the uncertainty of the stock market. It could be a new technology that renders your business model obsolete overnight. Or it could be your competition that is sometimes trying to kill you. It's sometimes trying to put you out of business, but at the very minimum is working hard to frustrate your growth and steal your business from you. We have no control over these forces. These are a constant and they're not going away. The only variable are the conditions inside the organization. And that's where leadership matters, because it's the leader that sets the tone. When a leader makes the choice to put the safety and lives of the people inside the organization first, to sacrifice their comforts and sacrifice the tangible results so that the people remain and feel safe and feel like they belong, remarkable things happen. I was flying on a trip, and I was witness to an incident where a passenger attempted to board before their number was called. And I watched the gate agent treat this man like he had broken the law, like a criminal. He was yelled at for attempting to board one group too soon. So I said something. I said, why do you have to treat us like cattle? Why can't you treat us like human beings? And this is exactly what she said to me. She said, sir, if I don't follow the rules, I could get in trouble or lose my job. All she was telling me is that she doesn't feel safe. All she was telling me is that she doesn't trust her leaders. The reason we like flying Southwest Airlines is not because they necessarily hire better people, it's because they don't fear their leaders. You see, if the conditions are wrong, we're forced to expend our own time and energy to protect ourselves from each other. And that inherently weakens the organization. When we feel safe inside the organization, we will naturally combine our talents and our strengths and work tirelessly to face the dangers outside and seize the opportunities. The closest analogy I can give to what a great leader is, it's like being a parent. If you think about what being a great parent is, what do you want? What makes a great parent? We want to give our child opportunities, education, discipline them when necessary, all so that they can grow up and achieve more than we could for ourselves. Great leaders want exactly the same thing. They want to provide their people opportunity, education, discipline when necessary, build their self-confidence, give them the opportunity to try and fail, all so that they could achieve more than we could ever imagine for ourselves. Charlie Kim, who's the CEO of a company called NextJump in New York City, a tech company, he makes the point that if you had hard times in your family, would you ever consider laying off one of your children? We would never do it. Then why do we consider laying off people inside our organization? Charlie implemented a policy of lifetime employment. If you get a job at NextJump, you cannot get fired for performance issues. In fact, if you have issues, they will coach you and they will give you support, just like we would with one of our children who happens to come home with a C from school. It's the complete opposite. This is the reason so many people have such a visceral hatred, sort of anger at some of these banking CEOs with their disproportionate salaries and bonus structures. It's not the numbers. It's that they have violated the very definition of leadership. They have violated this deep-seated social contract. We know that they allowed their people to be sacrificed so that they could protect their own interests. Or worse, they sacrificed their people to protect their own interests. This is what so offends us, not the numbers. Would anybody be offended if we gave a $150 million bonus to Gandhi? How about a $250 million bonus to Mother Teresa? Do we have an issue with that? None at all. None at all. Great leaders would never sacrifice the people to save the numbers. They would sooner sacrifice the numbers to save the people. Bob Chapman, who runs a large manufacturing company in the Midwest called Barry Waymiller, in 2008, was hit very hard by the recession. And they lost 30% of their orders overnight. Now, in a large manufacturing company, this is a big deal. And they could no longer afford their labor pool. They needed to save $10 million. So, like so many companies today, the board got together and discussed layoffs. And Bob refused. You see, Bob doesn't believe in head counts. Bob believes in heart counts. And it's much more difficult to simply reduce the heart count. And so they came up with a furlough program. Every employee from secretary to CEO was required to take 4 weeks of unpaid vacation. They could take it any time they wanted, and they did not have to take it consecutively. But it was how Bob announced the program that mattered so much. He said, it's better that we should all suffer a little than any of us should have to suffer a lot. And morale went up. They saved $20 million. And most importantly, as would be expected, when the people feel safe and protected by the leadership in the organization, the natural reaction is to trust and cooperate. And quite spontaneously, nobody expected, people started trading with each other. Those who could afford it more would trade with those who could afford it less. People would take 5 weeks so that somebody else only had to take 3. Leadership is a choice. It is not a rank. I know many people at the senior-most levels of organizations who are absolutely not leaders. They are authorities, and we do what they say because they have authority over us, but we would not follow them. And I know many people who are at the bottoms of organizations who have no authority, and they are absolutely leaders. And this is because they have chosen to look after the person to the left of them, and they have chosen to look after the person to the right of them. This is what a leader is. I heard a story of some Marines who were out in theater, and as is the Marine custom, the officer ate last, and he let his men eat first. And when they were done, there was no food left for him. And when they went back out in the field, his men brought him some of their food so that he may eat. Because that's what happens. We call them leaders because they go first. We call them leaders because they take the risk before anybody else does. We call them leaders because they will choose to sacrifice so that their people may be safe and protected and so their people may gain. And when we do, the natural response is that our people will sacrifice for us. They will give us their blood and sweat and tears to see that their leader's vision comes to life. And when we ask them, why would you do that? Why would you give your blood and sweat and tears for that person? They all say the same thing. Because they would have done it for me. And isn't that the organization we would all like to work in? Thank you very much. Thank you.